So, King and Queen of the Ring ending at Night of Champions. We got 4 people left for each. The semi-finals are concluding, I believe, in the next week or so, because I believe Night of Champions is next week. I don't know at this point. But who's most likely to walk out at Night of Champions as both King and Queen of the Ring? Well, I took every single semi-finalist and I rated them from 4 to 1, 4 being the least likely and 1 being the most likely, and we're going to figure out, in my opinion, who has the best shot of winning each tournament. We're going to kick things off with King of the Ring, and at number 4, this might shock a few people, I've gone with Randy Orton. Now, the reason for this being is that Orton would be a great choice if we hadn't already had Cena versus Orton as like the last time ever. Now look, I know it's WWE and they don't really necessarily do last time evers, never say never and all of that, and you know, anything can happen in the World Wrestling Federation, etc. But it feels weird doing it this soon. So I think Orton might make it to the finals. I'm not sure. I thought they might have him beat Sammy, but then, you know, I don't see him winning the finals if he does make it to the finals. Just because I think they might want Orton in Saudi. I'm not super sure. But hey, who knows? Not really much else to say about Orton except for the fact that, like, even out of the 4, he's probably one of the picks that I would prefer, but least likely, I think, out of the 4 that remain. Number 3, Sami Zayn. Now, it's different because we're not looking at John Cena. We're looking at Gunter with Sami Zayn, right? And I'm thinking the long game. And I'm thinking, well, there's a lot of people who think that the idea could be that Sami Zayn wins King of the Ring, beats Gunter for the belt, Seth cashes in on Sami immediately, and that's your WrestleMania feud. Now, obviously, I predicted that Sami Zayn would go on to WrestleMania to fight Seth Rollins for the belt a little while ago, and I would love for that to be, like, the agenda, but I don't think it happens because of King of the Ring. I don't. I think that if you're gonna do that, I think Sami Zayn needs to win the Rumble. And I think for that reason, as much as I would love to see Sami Zayn win the belt at SummerSlam, I just don't think that that's the moment. I don't think that's the time. And with everything going on, I just think that there are more front runners for King of the Ring than Sami Zayn. Now, obviously, the big thing is that Sami Zayn is ridiculously over in Saudi, and that could very easily sway how they do things, right? I just think that with who is on the other side of the bracket, who are coincidentally 1 and 2, it makes things a little bit more difficult for them to kind of justify having Sami Zayn win, unless they do one specific thing, which is to do Sami Zayn versus Jey Uso at Night of Champions, winner fights Gunter at SummerSlam, or Goldberg, but I doubt it's actually going to be Goldberg. It might be. Speaking of Yeet and all of that, at number 2 we've got Jey Uso. Now the reason being is that at the moment it seems as though everybody loves a good redemption story, and like I said about Jey Uso's title reign, whether you liked it or not, it was polarizing, and I think that they might go back to it. Who knows, right? Maybe they give him another crack at Gunter, because now they're like, what? Gunter's whooped his ass like 3 times. Jay's beaten him once. Like, surely they're not gonna run it back at SummerSlam, but part of me thinks they might, and then part of me thinks they might do Jey Uso John Cena at SummerSlam. Part of me thinks that, but this is more leaning towards Jey Uso gets the shot against Gunter, Seth gets involved, and that's how Seth wins the belt, maybe by pinning Jey. I don't know. I think he's got a better shot than either Orton or Sammy, but I do think that the very obvious pick is number 1, Cody Rhodes. Now, the reason for this is very simple, right? Cena and Rhodes haven't ran it back since Mania, and it feels like SummerSlam is the biggest stage they can do it at, because Cena's not going to be at Mania 42, right? So, like, John Cena not going to be there, you won't see him and all of that, right? So, you have to kind of build SummerSlam as, like, the last big event that Cena's going to be a part of, and what better way to do that than with Cena Rhodes 2. Now, whether this is the right move, I don't know, but to be fair, I don't see any of the 4 really needing King of the Ring to kind of elevate their careers. You've got Orton, who's a multi-time world champion. Sammy and Jay are probably the only 2 that would benefit from it, but even then, there are other avenues. Like I said, Sami Zayn with the Rumble, you know, Jey Uso can get back to the World Championship a little bit later. Maybe he could be one of the front runners to dethrone Seth. I just think the easiest way, and probably the plan that they've had for a while, is Cody wins at Saudi, Cena beats Punk, and then boom, Rhodes, Cena to SummerSlam, boom, there you go. So we go from a very easy predictions kind of thing with King of the Ring to a more tricky one in Queen of the Ring, because there's so much they could do with this. And what you have to remember is that this is not my personal preference. This isn't who I'm necessarily saying, oh, these are like, you know, I think this person's going to win because I like them. Otherwise, Sami Zayn would be number 1 in King of the Ring. So, number 4, Asuka. Now, the reason being is like, yeah, they could be building up something big for her. And I'm not going to lie, if you casually just said, hey, here's Io Asuka at SummerSlam, I'd be like, I am locked in. And that could still happen. I just don't think Queen of the Ring is the avenue that they're going to take to do that. I think Asuka coming back is great, and I think she's still doing fantastic stuff. However, I don't see her being the Queen of the Ring winner. I'd be more than happy to be wrong. I just don't see it happening. At number 3, we're going to go with Roxanne Perez. Now, she probably would have been number 2 if it wasn't for the Liv Morgan injury. Now, the reason why I say that is because that's going to derail a lot of plans, and apparently, supposedly, it has already derailed a lot of plans for Evolution in a few weeks' time. So, naturally, you've got to think, well, maybe something was going to happen between Liv and Roxanne, or Raquel and Roxanne, or the Judgment Day and Roxanne during this tournament, and maybe she was even going to win. However, going up against Jade Cargill in the semi-finals is a very tricky thing, and I'm not necessarily sure if she's actually even going to make it past the semi-finals. I would love for Roxanne to be in the finals, I'd love for her to even win. I just think that with the Liv Morgan injury, and just with who else is in this tournament, I don't see it happening. And then at number 2, we have Alexa Bliss. Now, the reason why she's at number 2 and not like 3 or 4 is because they're kind of like slow burning Alexa Bliss, I think. There's still way more to her than we've yet to see from her return, and I feel like there's avenues they could go down. They've teased stuff with Charlotte, they even teased stuff with Roxanne. They're doing all of this stuff. The one thing they haven't done is the Wyatt 6 yet, which might happen at some point, I don't know. Personally, I think that out of the 4, probably Alexa has the second best chance of winning the entire thing, and then going on to SummerSlam to probably fight Tiffany Stratton. Maybe that's how it's gonna go, I don't know. Maybe she throws out a curveball and says, I'm gonna wrestle Io, I don't know. But it's a tricky one in the sense of, I would put Roxanne higher, and she was gonna be number 2, maybe even number 1, like I said. It's just that injury is now making me think that Bliss might have more of a chance than Roxanne. But it really doesn't matter, because I do think that Jade Cargill is winning this thing. Number 1. I feel like it's time. I feel like it's time that they're about to strap the rocket to Jade Cargill. And I think they might just bite the bullet and run Naomi, Jade Cargill all the way through from like SummerSlam to potentially WrestleMania. I'm not sure if that's gonna be how long it goes for. I could see it potentially being like a SummerSlam to Rumble deal, I'm not sure. But either way, I think that's where the end goal is for the SmackDown and the Women's Championship, is Naomi, Jade Cargill. That's your big feud for a little bit, and then Bianca gets involved at some point. Whose side is she on? We don't know. I think Bianca's going to get involved at some point. But yeah, I'm not really sure. I just think that it's an absolute layup that Jade Cargill probably walks away with the win. Maybe even picks up the belt at SummerSlam. I think that we're getting one cash-in at least at SummerSlam. I would hope that it's not both, because it would kind of ruin it, which is why I think that they might have Seth cash in at Saturday night's main event between Gunther Goldberg. I think that might be when Seth cashes in, and I think Naomi's going to cash in maybe at SummerSlam on Jade Cargill. But apart from that, am I excited for the rest of the tournament? Honestly, yeah, some great matches, some interesting stuff, some interesting storytelling, and I think that's really like the big thing, is that you're really looking at like who, you know, like what is the most interesting stories going in. And honestly, like the King of the Ring tournament looks stacked, and the Queen of the Ring tournament has a lot that could happen, right? There's still stuff that could happen with Roxanne. Naomi could get involved and cost Jade Cargill. Wyatt 6 spooky shenanigans for Alexa. Asuka could just be Asuka and just absolutely menace it up. Who knows? But like, that's the thing, is I think that I'm pretty good at predicting stuff like this. I think I said that about the Continental Classic. I think I got that one wrong. I don't know. This has been a while since I've done something like this. But honestly, I do think that Cody Rhodes, Jade Cargill probably have the best chance, and Asuka and Randy Orton have the worst. But let me know if you're watching this before SmackDown. Who do you have winning King and Queen of the Ring? Is it the same as me? Is it somebody different? You know, back your horse, back your favorite in the comments below. More wrestling think pieces here, and apparently YouTube really thinks you'll like this video. So if you don't want to check those out, potentially consider checking that one out instead. See ya!